Hello everyone, this is Lisa from Imposter Baker, and we're going to work on the second step, or maybe the third step. I think this is the second step. We frosted our cake. You will see on this cake I did an experiment with a color and I didn't like it, so I pulled it back off, and we're going to recreate a different color. What I found out is that I like the new shamrock green. I tried a darker green, like a Christmas green and a forest green, and I didn't end up liking them. And so we're going to try to achieve this color right here with the new shamrock. So we're going to go ahead and pull out our spackle. And I am using the lightweight Red Devil spackle for this particular part of the cake. I actually ended up using it for both of mine because that's what I had on hand. But because we're making a dark color, I'm going to recommend that you use the Red Devil color, or I'm sorry, the Red Devil spackle, because it's much thicker than the dab. It's just, as you can see, it's just a thicker consistency. And so we're going to go ahead and put some in our container here. And I'm just using an old cottage cheese container. I will keep my containers and wash them, deli containers and things like that. You can also use one of the little bowls like from the Dollar Tree or something like that. Always cover your spackle back up to make sure that you don't have any drying problems. You don't want your spackle to all dry out. So we're going to set that aside, and we'll actually move it more in a little bit, but so you can see what it is. It is the Red Devil One Time Lightweight Spackle. Okay, this is a big container that came from Menards, but you can get smaller containers of it. You don't have to buy that big of a container. And just so you know, the Red Devil is a little more expensive than the dab. But I do like it when I have to make darker colors because I have to thin it down more. You need to put more paint in it, which thins it more. And then it just makes a thicker consistency for when you're piping it. I'm first just kind of mixing it up, and I've just got that little bit of green there, so you're seeing a little bit of color in there. But first I just want to kind of smooth it out a little bit. Make it creamy, smooth it out. Looks like I think this is going to be enough for, hopefully, because you want to make sure you make enough for the top and the bottom piping of your 8-inch round cake. If you don't have enough, you have to make more, and then you've got to try to match it. And there's no magic recipe to this. I don't have a recipe. I just kind of make it. So if I'm kind of going around and I think I need a little bit more, which maybe I want to put a tiny bit more in there. We'll see. Once we get the paint in there, we'll look and see. So you want to mix your paint up well. Again, this is the new shamrock. And if you're getting a kit, this will come in your kit. If not, you can get this at Walmart, Amazon, probably Michael's would carry it, just about any place. Or you want like a brighter green. So this is a bright green, and I will show you. This is what I tried first. This is a forest green. It turned out dark and kind of a teal-ish color. I also did a little experiment with this green, Christmas green, didn't like that. And then the spring green is way too bright. That's if you were doing like the green monster stuff or something like that, you could use the spring green or like a neon green. But this, the shamrock, the new shamrock, I kind of like that green. And it seems to look nice once I mixed up some. And you're not going to get super dark colors with spackling because you're mixing your paint into white. I'm not the greatest at figuring out what my colors are going to turn out. So I ended up doing a lot of experimentation because I don't know why, but I'm not good at figuring out if I add this to this, what it will actually look like. So I have to do a lot of experimenting with my colors. It's just not something I'm really good at. I'm not too bad at matching things, but I'm really not good at mixing paint colors and knowing what I'm gonna get. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna make sure that you're pulling this up from the bottom, because you'll see, and I'm gonna pull this toward the camera a little bit so you can see how I have all that white streaking in there still? You can see it all variegated through there. You don't want that. And so you want to keep mixing it, scraping your sides, mixing it to the top. You know, it takes a lot of mixing. Just imagine like if you were mixing food coloring into white frosting, like for real. Then you're going to want to wipe your sides, and you'll kind of understand like how long it takes to like mix gel food coloring or something like that into your frosting, if you've ever done that. And so I'm just going to keep mixing, pulling it up, and what I'd like to do is kind of do this from the bottom and then pull it up to the top. And see that how I still have a lot of white in there. Look at that. It's kind of incredible how much you will end up with still that you didn't realize was there. I don't have a see-through container, which I do like that sometimes when I'm mixing stuff, because then you can kind of watch the sides too, and you'll be able to see where, like, oh, I see a big, you know, globs of paint, streaks of paint through there. And I can see, yeah, a lot of white down in here still. So I'm going to kind of just get my thing down in there. And actually, I'm going to set this aside for a second. And I'm going to grab a paint stick. These sometimes work better. They're smaller and can get down in there better sometimes than the spatulas. So I'm just going to get in there and kind of, let's see how we're doing now. Looks like it's pretty mixed now. Look how that, see, that was quite a bit of mixing that you have to do to get your color mixed in. I'm just trying to guesstimate, does this seem like enough? I think this will be enough to frost my cake. If not, I'll have to end up pulling it off again. And then I'll be able to tell you, is this enough? I think I want this to be a little bit darker green. I'm going to do just a little bit more paint, which means we're going to have to mix. And I just kind of globbed it in there. I didn't mean to quite put that much in there, but that's okay. It wasn't, I didn't mean to do that much, but I think it'll be okay. But we're going to mix that all in. And then you can see how now I don't have my paint mixed in, and you can see that, hopefully you can see that okay, where it's kind of, the striations for the paint are still in there. All right, so I'm going to pull this out of here. I am a messy crafter. I'm a messy cook. I do everything in a messy way. So I have my handy dandy little wipes. You know how much I like these. Get that off my hands. I'm actually going to pull that off the top of the stick here. It will start to creep up on your stick and on your spatula. So I like to kind of scrape that down, and I know I just put it right back on the thing that I just cleaned off, but I'm not going to worry about the end of that. But I do want to get it off from here because I don't want it up on my hands. I don't like getting this all over me. Again, you should wear gloves. My fingers are all green now from experimenting with green paint today. I have my little dog here. She's looking at me like I need to do something for her. So I might have to pause this and get up for her. She just wants to play the in and out game because I'm doing something. Miss Dolly, she's on my logo with me. She's my CEO, I think. She kind of is the boss of me. She kind of runs my day a lot of the time. All right, so I feel like I'm just gonna give that a nice little mix again. So as I was showing, you're not going to achieve a super dark green. If you want it darker, you'll have to pipe it on, let it dry fully for probably a good week, because this will be thick. This is pretty dry to the touch overnight. I just did this yesterday. It took about 24 hours. I glued it onto the cake board. All I did was I used some fast grab tacky glue. You could use super glue. You could use a little dollop of spackle, or you could, you know, any kind of glue that you can glue this down. I dried this on the tin foil first, and by the way, that did work. It worked just fine. Didn't need the wax paper, so you can use either. In fact, I think it stuck less to the tin foil than it did the wax paper in the past. And you can see this is the color that I had started with, and I didn't like it, so I peeled it all off, which is something you can do if you dry your base first, and then you pipe on your next layer. Then if you don't like it, it's easy to pull off. But if this was all wet and then you add wet spackle onto wet, it's going to kind of mix together and it's hard to get off, and it's going to be a bigger mess. So I like to do it in steps. I actually learned that from Dawn Newell from the Pink Tree, and it is one of the greatest tips. I'm not a great cake decorator. I never decorated cakes before I started doing fake baking, and so I did go around and kind of took a toothpick, because I had some areas here like that were just kind of out of the bounds here. And if I have some, once I pipe this on and I've got some of this dark stuff poking out from where I re-spackle, I'll just take a little toothpick and scrape it away. And you know, but I'll wait until that is fully dry. Like, you'll be able to look at it and see it. Don't be tempted to hop in there with your toothpick while you got wet spackle going on. Wait till it's all dry, and then you can kind of go in there. And or if you have any of your other spackle left from your white, you're just adding white to white, so it's not a big deal. You can just mix up some more with some white paint and, you know, dollop it on. Probably you'll still need to scrape it off a little bit, and I even used a wet tissue in some spots. But yeah, this is all dry. It's dry to the touch. You know, I put it on the board earlier today, maybe a couple hours ago, with that fast grab tacky glue. I really do like that, by Eileen's. I just flipped this cake over, put it on, and then I just positioned it, and I kind of set it on here. I stood over it, kind of eyeballed it, and then I took and turned it around and just tried to make sure that my space was, let me move this out of the way here, move this forward. I just made sure that my space from the edge of the board to the cake looked about the same. You know, you could, if you're super particular, you can measure it, use a little measuring tape or a ruler and go around and see if it's about the same distance in all the way. If you want to be very perfectionistic on it, I wouldn't put it past me that I've done that in the past, but I've gotten used to kind of putting them on there and kind of can guesstimate about how much space I want between there. So anyways, so we're working on this cake. Yours won't look like this. It won't have this hot mess going on. You're going to have a nice, pretty white cake that you're going to be dealing with. I'm going to go ahead and just repurpose this one. I mean, it's kind of a pretty vintage color if I was going to do something else with the cake, but I really didn't want to do that because I didn't want to come up with another plan. I've got enough projects going on already. Okay, so we've got this mixed up, and I know it's kind of dark in here. I apologize. It's kind of gloomy and rainy off and on, so it's not the greatest lighting, but here's what we got, and you'll see the picture of the cake. We've kind of got a nice, you know, brighter green, and we're going to be, I just want to grab this. This is going to be part of the decor on the top. And so I was kind of trying to match the green on here a little bit. I knew I couldn't get it this dark, but I was thinking I wanted something that would complement it. And so that's kind of what we're looking at. I think it'll still be okay. We have a darker green tree that's going on there, a little deer, and some other things. So I'm gonna go ahead and set that back down. So that is I think I'm pretty happy with this. And I'm pretty sure I have enough of it. If this is not enough, so I'm just gonna push it down in here so you guys can see how much I actually ended up mixing up. Because that's probably not something I'll pay attention to when all is said and done. So I have a 16-ounce container. It's just a cottage cheese container. I have it about 3/4 of the way full, I would say. Yeah, I'd say about 3/4 of the way full. I'm just going to kind of smash it down a little bit so you can see that's about how much I got in it. That's about how much space I have. Let me see if I can kind of measure. Yeah, I would say it's about probably 1.5 inches down. 1.5 inches, I'd say. So if you make at least that much, or make about 3/4, this should definitely be enough fake frosting to go around the bottom and top edge. Now, I am going to pause the video for a minute, and we might do a second video for the next part. I think I'm going to have to run and let my dog go outside. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and I'll be right back.